She was humiliated, even detained, right inside the VIP terminal of Rosebridge Airport. An old hoodie, worn-out sneakers. She looked far too ordinary in a waiting lounge full of Italian suits and platinum-tier memberships. "This kind of passenger doesn't belong on a private jet," a security officer said coldly. She was held, under sneering eyes, until the private jet of her billionaire husband touched down. Rosebridge Jet Terminal was a fortress of wealth, its marble floors gleaming under chandeliers worth more than beachfront villas, its tarmac a runway for Gulfstreams and Louis Vuitton suitcases. This private airport, where sapphire membership cards outshone passports, buzzed with tailored Armani suits, Louboutin heels, and the scent of Tom Ford oud. The VIP lounge, a cathedral of glass and velvet, was reserved for the elite, its staff in silk vests scanning platinum keycards. Beyond the lounge, a private runway stretched, its gates guarded for the world's richest. Claire Sutton stepped into the terminal, her gray hoodie loose, her sweatpants faded, her worn sneakers whispering on the marble. At 30, raised in a modest Maine town, she'd taught herself aerospace engineering while working as a mechanic, her life simple until she met Noah Sutton, the man who'd built Sutton Aerospace into a global titan. In her hands, a small backpack held a book and a water bottle, her only luggage after a connecting domestic flight. The lounge's stairs sliced through her, their whispers a gathering storm. Claire's presence was a crack in the terminal's polished facade, her backpack an affront to the elite's curated world. A security officer, Victor Hayes, approached, his navy uniform crisp, his badge glinting. "Sorry, this lounge is reserved for private jet passengers only," he said, his voice loud enough to turn heads. A lounge attendant in a $2,000 Gucci blazer chuckled, leaning toward her colleague. She probably snuck in looking for a job. The lounge's laughter rippled, passengers covering smirks with manicured hands. Claire stood still, her hazel eyes steady, her backpack slung over one shoulder. She'd come to meet Noah, the man whose empire she'd quietly helped design. The audience's anger stirred, their hearts tensing at the casual cruelty of these gatekeepers, their disdain a blade against Claire's quiet grace. The mockery escalated, a venomous chorus orchestrated by the terminal's elite. Vanessa Klein, the lounge manager, strutted forward, her platinum blonde hair cascading over a body-hugging Versace dress, her red lipstick a stark contrast to her icy smile. At 29, raised in Miami's high society, she'd built a reputation for enforcing exclusivity. She eyed Claire's hoodie and scoffed. "Ma'am, we're unable to verify your identity or your reason for being in the high-security zone," she said, her voice a sharpened blade. The passengers roared, their laughter echoing off the glass walls. Vanessa tossed her hair, her Chanel perfume wafting, a scent Claire knew Noah disliked. Claire's fingers tightened on her backpack, her face calm, but the audience's fury surged, their hearts pounding at this personal attack, Vanessa's arrogance a spark in the frost. The scorn grew vicious, a coordinated assault on Claire's presence. Victor Hayes stepped closer, his badge gleaming, and pointed toward a side door. "Your luggage hasn't passed VIP screening," he said, his voice firm, but not cruel. "Please move to the isolation room for individuals suspected of false declaration." The crowd cheered, their Rolexes glinting as they waved her toward the exit. A passenger in a $6,000 Brioni suit shouted, "You don't look like someone with a private jet ticket." Laughter roared, passengers nudging each other. A receptionist hissed, "She doesn't even look like a tourist." Another added, "That hoodie's probably stolen and she dares walk in here." The insults were a guillotine, each word a lash against Claire's silence. The audience's rage boiled, their hearts breaking for Claire, furious at this mob's relentless cruelty. The passengers' scorn turned vicious as Claire stood in the VIP lounge, their mockery a choreographed assault meant to crush her spirit. A group of tech tycoons in $8,000 Savile Row suits gathered near the velvet sofas, their voices a venomous chorus. "She's a stain on Rosebridge's prestige," one sneered, flicking a platinum fountain pen toward Claire's worn sneakers. "Back to the budget terminal, sweetheart." Another waved a black Amex card, shouting, "Her backpack looks like it's from a flea market." The crowd's laughter roared, staff nudging each other, their Rolexes glinting. A private equity mogul bellowed, "She's an insult to every jet parked here!" The taunts were a guillotine, each word a blade against Claire's poised silence. Noah's jet loomed on the tarmac beyond the glass, but the lounge's disdain was a crushing weight. The audience's rage surged, their hearts pounding, furious at this orchestrated cruelty, their anger a fire ready to consume the elite's arrogance. The staff's complicity deepened the wound, their actions a fresh betrayal. A receptionist, Clara Holt, in a tailored blazer, stepped forward, her voice dripping with condescension. "Miss, the general terminal is that way," she said, pointing toward a hidden door, her smirk mirrored by nearby passengers. "We don't allow such guests in the VIP lounge," she added, sparking chuckles from the crowd. At 26, raised in New Jersey, Clara prided herself on her gatekeeping role. The crowd's approval was a crushing tide, their arrogance a public crucifixion. Claire clutched her backpack, her hazel eyes steady, but the lounge's disdain was a suffocating weight. The audience's rage flared, their hearts pounding at this institutional scorn, their fury ablaze against Rosebridge's sanctity. Vanessa Klein's disdain sharpened her words a calculated strike to wound Claire before the lounge's elite. "She's not just out of place, she's a humiliation," she declared, her Versace dress shimmering as she gestured at Claire's sweatpants. "Sutton Aerospace would never tolerate this. Nobody in their terminal." Her entourage erupted in laughter, their Mont Blanc pens clinking, eyes darting to Claire's backpack. "She's a charity case, not a jet passenger," Vanessa sneered, her voice loud enough to silence nearby whispers. The passengers cheered, their scorn a suffocating tide, their murmurs buzzing. "She's a fake." Claire's hazel eyes burned with quiet fire, but her smile held, a shield against the betrayal. The tarmac gleamed beyond the glass, but the lounge's disdain was a crushing weight. The audience's fury roared, their hearts breaking for Claire, enraged at this manager's treachery unveiled before the room. The passengers' cruelty peaked, their voices a venomous storm. A tech mogul in a $5,000 Canali suit leaned forward, his voice loud and cutting. "She's a nobody, probably here to beg for a ride," he sneered, gesturing at Claire's sweatpants. "Look at that backpack. Did she pack it from a dumpster?" His companions laughed, their platinum cards flashing. A socialite shouted, "She's an embarrassment to whoever let her in." The laughter roared, each insult a dagger aimed at Claire's heart. A woman waiting nearby with her daughter whispered, "She's probably someone's housekeeper." Her daughter giggled, adding, "Or a stowaway." The audience's anger erupted. Their hearts with Claire, their fury a tidal wave against this malicious slander, desperate for the truth to shatter the elite's lies. The lounge staff's disdain turned overt, their actions a public shaming orchestrated for the passengers' amusement. A senior concierge, Richard Tate, approached Claire near the glass reception desk, his silk vest pristine, his voice dripping with condescension. "Miss, this lounge is for verified jet passengers only," he said, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "Your attire suggests you're in the wrong terminal." He gestured at her hoodie, his smirk mirrored by nearby staff. "We don't typically allow such simplicity at Rosebridge," he added, sparking laughter from the passengers in attendance. The crowd's approval was a crushing tide, their arrogance a public execution. Claire clutched her backpack, her hazel eyes unwavering, but the lounge's scorn was a suffocating weight. The audience's rage flared, their hearts pounding at this institutional betrayal, their fury ablaze against the terminal's sanctity. Claire stood silent, not a tear in her eyes, her arms cradling her backpack. A simple bag holding the book she'd read on her flight, a gift for Noah. She was escorted to the isolation room, a stark chamber of glass and steel, its walls reflecting the lounge's opulence. The door locked behind her, Victor Hayes standing guard, his badge a symbol of her confinement. The passengers' whispers followed her, their lies a suffocating tide. "She's a con artist." Claire's hazel eyes remained steady, her composure a quiet blaze. The audience's rage peaked, their hearts breaking for Claire, their fury a fire ready to consume the terminal's sanctity. The passengers' cruelty peaked as they spun vicious rumors, their voices a venomous storm echoing through the lounge. A hedge fund manager in a $9,000 Loro Piana suit leaned forward, his voice loud and cutting. "She's a fraud, probably bribed her way into this lounge," he hissed, his companions nodding, their cufflinks flashing. "Her marriage is a sham, just a story to scam Sutton." Another added, shouting, "She's a con artist, Noah's been duped." The laughter roared, each rumor a dagger aimed at Claire's heart. Staff whispered lies, their accusations spreading like wildfire. She's after his fortune. Claire's fingers brushed her backpack, her gaze steady, but the crowd's slander was a crushing weight. The audience's anger erupted, their hearts with Claire, their fury a tidal wave against this malicious slander, desperate for the truth to shatter the elite's lies. The roar of a jet engine shattered the lounge's hum, a black Gulfstream G800 touching down on the private runway, one of fewer than 20 in the world. Its sleek frame gleamed, its engines a thunderclap that silenced the chatter. A VIP golf cart sped toward the isolation zone, tires screeching on the tarmac. Noah Sutton stepped off, his white shirt rolled up, his dark sunglasses glinting, his presence a storm. At 35, raised in Seattle, he'd built Sutton Aerospace into a global empire, acquiring Rosebridge Jet Terminal in a corporate restructuring. He removed his sunglasses, his gray eyes colder than steel, and walked into the isolation room. "Why is my wife being held here?" His voice wasn't loud, but it landed like a hammer. The audience's hearts stirred, their anger shifting to anticipation, Noah's truth a spark in the frost. Victor Hayes stammered, his badge no shield. I didn't know she was—" Noah cut him off, his gaze unyielding. "She doesn't need to prove anything. My name is her boarding pass." The room froze, Vanessa Klein's Versace dress wilting, her red lipstick stark against her paling skin. Noah pulled open the door, walked to Claire, and took her hand. "You tired?" he asked, his voice soft but firm. "The plane's ready. Let's go." Claire smiled, her hazel eyes warm, her hoodie a quiet crown. The passengers' cufflinks seemed to dim, their faces taut with shock. The audience's pride swelled, their hearts thundering as Noah's words reshaped the lounge's power dynamic. Noah turned to the airport manager, his voice calm but lethal. "I was going to keep my investment in Rosebridge for another 2 years," he said. "But today I've changed my mind." He paused, his gray eyes sweeping the lounge. "No one should be detained for not wearing a suit in a place full of people who think they're gods." Vanessa Klein stumbled back, her Chanel perfume a bitter irony. Noah's gaze sharpened. "I'm not just the biggest investor in this airport. I own 70% of Rosebridge Jet Terminal." The lounge fell into ice, the receptionist nearly dropping her iPad, the head of security's face ashen. The audience roared, their fury transformed into awe as Noah's authority began to unravel the lies that had bound Claire. The consequences were immediate, a reckoning delivered in silence. Noah turned to Victor Hayes, his voice a blade. "You detained the only person I fly with," he said. "You're done here, 5 minutes from now." Victor's uniform crumpled, his career dust. Noah faced Vanessa Klein, his eyes unyielding. "Your department's screening protocols? Terminated. You're blacklisted from every Sutton Group facility." Vanessa's Versace dress was no shield, her reputation a cautionary tale. Noah turned to Clara Holt, the receptionist. "Your keycard's deactivated. Clear your desk." Clara froze, her gatekeeping role a public wound. The audience's pride swelled, their anger transformed into triumph, Claire's victory sealed by her husband's unrelenting power. Noah Sutton's presence commanded the isolation room, his voice a gavel strike that silenced the glass-walled air. "You dared to detain Claire Sutton, the only soul worthy of this terminal," he said, his gray eyes a storm of controlled fury. "Your badges, your protocols mean nothing against her truth." He raised a sleek tablet revealing a cascade of severed ties, Victor Hayes' security contracts, Vanessa Klein's management deals, the staff's lounge privileges, all terminated by Sutton Aerospace's board. "Your names are erased from global aviation," he declared, his gaze locking on Victor. "You've lost more than jobs. You've lost your futures." The crowd's gasps were a symphony of shock, their empires crumbling under his command. Claire stood beside him, her gray hoodie glowing, her triumph sealed by Noah's unrelenting power. The audience roared, their hearts soaring as his global retribution crushed the elite's arrogance. Noah's gaze shifted to the woman who'd whispered, her daughter shrinking behind her. "I heard you call her a maid," he said, his voice low but sharp. "I'll show you what kind of power even a so-called maid can have, enough to get your membership revoked permanently." He pulled out his phone, pressed one button, and spoke. "Revoke the memberships of everyone in Lounge 1A for the past 2 hours. No explanation needed." The socialite's platinum card was useless, her status null. The tech mogul who'd mocked Claire's backpack was escorted out, his deals canceled. The passengers who'd laughed hid their Rolexes, their influence dust. The audience's hearts thundered, their fury transformed into pride, Claire's triumph a blaze that humbled the lounge's elite. The elite's downfall was a spectacle, their arrogance shattered under Noah's command. Vanessa Klein stumbled back, her Versace dress a mockery, her reputation a cautionary tale among the staff. Victor Hayes's badge was confiscated, his decades of service null, his escorts pushing him toward the service exit. Clara Holt's gatekeeping empire plummeted, her scorn a public wound, her belongings scattered. The hedge fund manager's deals collapsed, his slander exposed as lies. The passengers who'd flicked pens hid their cufflinks, their memberships void. The staff who'd sneered were dismissed, their careers ended. The socialite who'd whispered was shunned, her status dust. Claire stood tall, her sneakers a quiet crown, her hazel eyes unyielding. The audience's hearts thundered, their anger transformed into pride. Claire's victory and Noah's wrath a blaze that humbled the world's richest in the terminal's hallowed halls. The terminal's hierarchy crumbled under Noah's command, a systemic reckoning that exposed its rotten core. He turned to the airport's operations chief, his voice a blade cutting through the lounge's opulence. "Your screening system is a farce," he said, his gray eyes unyielding. "Every protocol that humiliated my wife is void. Effective now." He tapped his phone, and a cascade of notifications hit the staff's devices. Contracts canceled, access revoked, entire departments dismantled. The socialite's daughter sobbed, her mother's membership a relic of a fallen empire. The tech mogul's jet was grounded, his influence null. The receptionist who'd laughed was escorted out, her iPad dark. Claire stood beside Noah, her backpack a quiet testament to her truth, her triumph a beacon in the terminal's dimming light. The audience's hearts soared, their anger transformed into triumph, Noah's wrath a tidal wave that swept away Rosebridge's arrogance. No one knew Claire's past, not the staff, not Vanessa, not the passengers. At 20, she'd rebuilt aircraft engines while studying late nights, her tips funding textbooks. At 25, she met Noah at an aerospace expo, her quiet brilliance drawing him in a room of flash. Their marriage, a private vow on a Maine cliff, was built on love, not wealth. Vanessa's perfume, the staff's keycards, the passengers' suits, none matched the strength of the backpack Claire carried. Now she stood in the terminal, her rubber band a testament to her truth, her silence a furnace that burned through their lies. Claire boarded the Gulfstream, still in her hoodie, hand in hand with Noah. On the glass wall of the terminal, her reflection shone, a modest woman walking past 2 rows of bowed heads. The plane rolled forward, its engines a glittering trail of power, leaving the lounge in silence. The chandeliers dimmed, the marble floors no longer ticking with authority. Noah leaned toward Claire, his gray eyes warm. "You okay?" She nodded, her hazel eyes tracing his smile. The jet climbed, the autumn light fading, leaving a trail of the world's richest pleading for her favor. Their bows a silent surrender to the woman they'd mocked. She was humiliated, even detained, right inside the VIP terminal of Rosebridge Airport, an old hoodie, worn-out sneakers. She looked far too ordinary in a waiting lounge full of Italian suits and platinum-tier memberships. But when the truth landed like a jet they couldn't stop, they all learned one thing. The real queen doesn't need to dress the part, she just needs to walk in, and the room will kneel. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. And tell us in the comments, what would you do if you were Claire?